Madam Clerk.
In accordance with the Open Public Meeting Act of the State of New Jersey, adequate notice of this work session regular meeting of the Franklin Township Council was made by the posting on the bulletin board in the municipal building, the township website, and electronically transmitted to the officially designated newspapers, indicating that this work session regular meeting would take place in the municipal building, council chambers at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, August 8th, 2023.
Thank you. If we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing by for an invocation by Councilman Onijaka. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands.
Redeemer of all the faithful, hear our supplications, and through thy infinite love and mercy, graciously grant us the strength and power in our thoughts and decisions to be for the benefit of all at all times. Amen.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Deputy Mayor Barrison.
Here.
Councilwoman Francois.
Here.
Mayor Kramer.
Here.
Councilman Onijaka.
Here.
Councilmember Potosnik.
Present.
Councilwoman Pruitt.
Here.
Councilwoman Udine.
Here.
Councilman Vasanella.
Here.
Councilman Wright.
Is this microphone as loud as usual? Can you hear me?
Here.
Oh.
Get really close.
Okay. Seems like I have to speak louder. Okay, we're on to commendations and proclamations. We're starting with the Garden State Track Club scholarships, and we have Lieutenant Wilson and Sergeant Leah here to present.
Good evening. I'm Lieutenant Vincent Wilson of the Franklin Township Police Department. I'm here with Detective Sergeant Rebecca Leah on behalf of the Franklin Township Police Department and Public Safety, Quavella Mayweather, Director, who could not be here this evening. We first like to thank the Township Council, as well as the Mayor and Township Manager, for believing in our community programs, because they truly are working. And tonight you will see the fruits of our labor. We have the Garden State Track Club here to present 5 scholarships that show that the police department, the community, and everybody involved can make things work with a little bit of effort. And this is a token of appreciation to those that have exhibited hard work and leadership, and they deserve the right to be recognized. So Chuck from the Garden State Track Club, could you come up, please, and present your scholarships? Thank you.
Hello, everyone. And again, I just want to mirror what he just said. We want to thank you all for just being so accommodating with hosting this event every March. And we're thrilled that after supporting various other nonprofit organizations over the years, we're thrilled to be now teaming up with the police department and supporting our graduating seniors. So I'd like to announce those 5 graduating seniors who have applied for this scholarship and have been selected after reviewing some 30-some applications. So the first recipient is Noella Abreu. Come on up. You can stay up here. The second one is Brittany Garcia Mendoza. And the third recipient is Fennel Patel. And the fourth recipient is Avery Scott. Thank you. And our fifth recipient of the Garden State 10-miler scholarship is Marilyn Vargas Rodriguez.
And I just wanted to add 4 out of the 5 are from the Franklin High School's ROTC, and 1 is from the police department-sponsored Franklin Fit program that we run at the rec center. So this truly is a combination of education, physical fitness, community initiative. This is what community policing truly looks like.
Our next proclamation is by Deputy Mayor Ambassador for Human Relations Commission.
Is Helen, is Helen here? All right. So Human Relations Commission of the Township meets every month, and we have commissioners appointed by the Township Council. And usually there is one junior commissioner from our high school. So this year we had Helen Abera, who served admirably for a year, judiciously taking notes and asking questions and understanding what happens in the town. So we wanted to recognize her as she graduates high school and goes away to college. We do this every year. The commendation reads like this: whereas Helen Abera's dedicated service to this community deserves special recognition, having served on the Human Relations Commission as a junior commissioner, and whereas Helen is an excellent role model for young people to follow, not only through her participation in many civic projects, but also through her commitment to community service. And now, therefore, we, Raman Barisan and Deputy Mayor, and Philip Kramer, Mayor of the Township of Franklin, County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, on behalf of the Township Council and the citizens of the Township of Franklin, extend their heartfelt appreciation and sincere thanks to Helen Abera for her valuable service and dedication to the citizens of our community, and wish her good luck with all her future endeavors. Signed by Deputy Mayor and the Mayor. Helen is not here, but we'll make sure that she gets her certificate. Thank you.
It's now time to open for public discussion.
I have one thing before we can open to public discussion, or just a 2-minute. I want to present a small little cake for Mayor Phil Kramer, if we may. It's his birthday today.
Oh. Out of order.
Birthday never happens. Son of a gun. That will be after.
Happy birthday to Mayor. Happy birthday to you.
Out of tune. That's very sweet of you. Thank you. I'm not going to cut them. Maybe
before you put your elbow in.
Yeah.
You're not going to cut it.
Get
You
it.
put it back in the box. Yeah, put it back in the box.
It'll make a good gavel base.
We can get a picture of Mr. Renone and I feeding each other.
I'm sorry, I can put it back in the fridge so it doesn't.
The fridge doesn't need to be refrigerated.
We'll find out.
If we eat it now, did you bring? No,
Oh,
Well,
forget it.
let's
You go
have
cut
some
up.
cake
I'm
then.
done. I'm stepping
It's
back.
time to open for public discussion. Do I have a motion to open?
So moved.
Second. Moved and seconded. All in favor of opening for public discussion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay, and you get no cake. We're open for public discussion. 5 minutes, one time up, no yielding of time. Name and address.
Thank you. Good evening and happy birthday, Mayor Kramer,
Thank you.
and esteemed council members. I'm Kiki Anastasakos. I live at 3204 Enclave Circle, and I'm also a member of the Citizens Warehouse Action Group. I would like to thank each and every member of the council for your steadfastness and for your courage. I was reading the recent article in my Central Jersey. I don't know if you've seen it. A friend of mine sent it to me today, entitled "New Fresh." Hillsborough, Franklin hit with fresh lawsuits over new warehouse rules. And it's about the noise ordinance that was passed here as well as in Hillsborough Township. And I just would like to comment on the lawsuit that pertains to us, which is the B9 Schoolhouse Owner, LLC, because some of the statements that they mention in their lawsuit are incorrect. They allege that the Township Council, quote unquote, appeased a vocal minority of residents in the nearby Canal Walk senior community by adopting the ordinance. Clearly, they are referring to our small group because we are vocal, but I would like to correct the fact that we are not a minority. There's only a few of us that come here to the meetings. We're committed to that, but we represent, trust me, and I wish that B9 understood that we represent each and every one of the residents, of the 2,000 plus residents in Canal Walk, as well as the over 1,000 residents in Somerset Run and the other retirement communities. And if we were to have a survey done of the entire population in Franklin Township, I don't think we would find one single person that would disagree that although we need the warehouses for economic development and for jobs, we need to do that and to do so carefully, to weigh all the opportunities that we have to maintain a livable community and to do the right thing by meeting the needs not only of the developers but also of the residents, because we also support the economy in Franklin Township. The senior citizens in every community are a major force, a major economic force. So B9 and the other developers, the other 5, have it wrong. We can find a middle-of-the-road solution, and noise is exactly that. We need to keep the quality of life of the residents while we're trying to accommodate these warehouses. So I would just like, on behalf of my friends and my community, I would like to thank you for doing something that is not easy, standing up to these developers, these major, major developers with a very deep pockets and power, and doing what is difficult, because progress happens when sometimes we do something that's difficult and even unpopular, and people who are used to getting their way sometimes don't. So thank you. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Mrs. Peterson.
Okay. Mrs. Peterson, 12 Lake Avenue in Somerset. I'm here tonight to congratulate all of you and for the person, I found out, who put the information on about burning poison ivy on your channel. I think a lot of people don't know what happens when you burn poison ivy, poison sumac, or poison oak, because it can kill you. And the other reason I'm here tonight is to also say our idling situation where I live has improved greatly. You do not hear it that much at 7-Eleven anymore, but there's somebody in the residential zone who decides they're going to leave their trucks or truck run for half an hour to an hour. Usually it's around 3 to 4 o'clock in the morning, it wakes you up. Sometimes it's 11 to 12 o'clock at night. Other times it's 6 to 7. So it's like you play bedroom, where can I sleep tonight so I don't have to hear it? And I know that there's a New Jersey idling law, and I know that you passed the noise law, but it's difficult to figure out where to tell the police to go because you can't see it because of the trees. But I know it's close, and my husband has told me I may not go outside after midnight, and I cannot go out after 11 because there's so much traffic speeding up and down our streets nowadays. And so I'm going to stand up for the truckers tonight also, because I had 2 in the family that were called independent truckers. The developers have thought of everything but a rest area where independent truckers can go, get the rest they need, because they can't continue to stay awake, get back in the truck, and go to another state or go very far, because there could be an accident, and there's enough of them the way there is. So I want to know if you've ever considered, instead of putting apartments at the Kmart, which seems to never be getting filled, but has a big parking lot. It has a garage where trucks could be fixed. It's close to one apartment group up the hill, but the rest are all stores around it, and make it a trucker's rest area with sleeping quarters, a restaurant which is attached. It used to be an Asian restaurant. It has a garage, and it has plenty of space. So I'm throwing that out to you as a, quote, suggestion, based upon knowing what truckers do go through on some of their runs that they do. And finally, we had a big wedding, an African wedding in our neighborhood. We had 100-plus cars on Spring, Lake, Hill, and music for 12 hours off of a boombox. I did not report the wedding because I didn't want to upset those neighbors. But I did get upset with the number of cars. It got to the point that even the police car, after it was called, because people were parking on the corners, in front of and behind stop signs, in and on your driveways. And what happened was, one of them decided to try to take out our mailbox. There is a limit to cars, and when your police car can't even get down Lake Avenue, God forbid, what would have happened if somebody would have had a fire, an emergency? The vehicles would never have gotten down Lake, Spring, or Hill. And also that, it was a lot of trash left behind as well. So can you please advise in your comments, how do you handle the traffic? And by the way, we're not one-way streets. We're two-way streets. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Good evening. My name is Barbara Jennings, and I live at 22 Woodlawn Road. And I read about 3 weeks ago in Tap Into Franklin that tonight would be a final vote on the ordinance for the running bamboo. And I wanted to thank everyone on the council for looking into this for us. It really helps. So thank you again, and I hope that you'll all vote in favor of the ordinance.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Robin Saddam. I live at 54 Skillman's Lane, and I'm here tonight to talk to you about green roofs. Last Wednesday night, the Planning Board approved the first green roof in Franklin Township, and your Environmental Commission is thrilled, of which I'm a member. And it's perfect timing. It lines up with new regs that the state has just passed requiring new stormwater management rules to comply with inland flooding. These new rules require us all to use anticipated rainfall, not historic rainfall, when we're planning for stormwater management. In our case, that's 36% more stormwater, more rainfall anticipated going forward than what we've been using in the past. And having spoken about green roofs last week at the planning board urged me to come to speak to you. So I'd like to encourage the council to consider requiring green roofs going forward for new construction or major renovations to help meet this new stormwater problem. Green roofs reduce the flow of stormwater from a rooftop by up to 65%, and they delay the peak flow rate by up to 3 hours. They reduce air temperature, they reduce urban heat islands, and they improve air quality. They extend the life of a roof. They provide habitat for birds and pollinators. They lower a building's carbon footprint. They increase energy efficiency. The savings on heat and air conditioning pay for a green roof in 7 years. And they come in two formats. They can be extensive green roofs or intensive. An extensive green roof has about a 4-inch medium in which the plants are grown. An intensive green roof has about 10 inches of medium, and that's what you usually see in cities where you see trees and other big plantings on higher levels. In extensive green roofs, like the one we just approved, they use sedum, which is a perennial. I have some growing in my yard. It blooms in the fall, works very well. And even better, we can put green roofs in tandem with solar, and it improves everything. In New Jersey, as you know now, if it's a roof of or a warehouse of 100,000 square feet, it has to be solar ready going forward. We'd like to see the requirement, of course, be a little smaller to require solar ready, and we'd love to see the benefit of it's done in tandem with a green roof. The green roof moderates the temperature on the roof, which makes the solar panels work more effectively. And you can design it so the runoff from the solar panel waters the green roof. Municipalities across the country now have living roof requirements where they combine solar and or green. Some have green ratio requirements where they look at green roofs, solar, and landscaping to come up with a required amount for a building. The Environmental Commission sent a resolution to the Township, the Council back in October of 2020 asking you to require green roofs be installed under certain circumstances based on square footage, the angle of the rooftop, the amount of trees being removed, but we were told that was not going to go anywhere. The land use portion of our master plan has to be updated by 2026. We can require green roof elements then or sooner, whether it's a green roof, a living roof, a green ratio. The new stormwater requirements, due to these new rules as of 3 weeks ago, have our planner and staff working on complying with the deadline. We have 1 more year to get those new rules incorporated. Maybe we could include some kind of green or living roof. These green roof methods are a way to offset the intensive warehouse development we've seen, because most of these warehouses have gone on fields or forests that were very effective at sequestering CO2 and at controlling stormwater. So I'm glad we've got our first one approved. And I ask you, and your EC asks you, to please make this a standard in our township. So as we go forward with any kind of development, we're doing the most we can to prevent 4 feet of stormwater on Easton Avenue like we had with Ida. And climate change is causing that rainfall to increase. If, in addition to slowing down the stormwater, we can mitigate temperatures and reduce energy use with green roofs, that alone will slow down climate change, which will slow down the excessive rainfall. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have, and thank you for listening.
Good evening. Beverly Lawson, 2004 Amwell Road. All right, in light of the bamboo amendment that's about to be talked about this evening, I have something. What I've noticed riding around town, especially on main streets that, say, outside people from Franklin will travel through, a lot of property is either been abandoned or for sale, and their lawn is not cut. There's quite a few properties where the lawn is growing out of control. So is it possible, a suggestion, that maybe if someone is selling a home and it already has a realtor's name on it or something, that they're fined if they don't cut the property? Because it's really starting to look, starting to look real crappy driving through town. It's like, what is going on here? It looks like people are abandoning Franklin Township. So it's not a good look. So if possible, maybe consider having them cut their own lawn. I'm not saying it's something that can be done, but it will make the township look better. Because if you're coming up Hamilton Street to Cedar Grove, turn on Elizabeth Avenue, right at the corner by Rester's gas station, there's a house that's for years just, the grass has been growing out of control. Travel up Elizabeth Avenue, there's also 2 homes there where grass is growing out of control. Down on Hamilton Street, quite a few properties where the grass is just growing out of control. So instead of us looking like no one cares, maybe fine these people or something so they could at least cut the grass while the house is for sale or whatever it may be. The other thing, I have a question. I was at the Human Relations Committee meeting, and I noticed there were 2 people that were appointed onto that committee. When I asked, how did you get appointed? Like, I don't understand. I didn't see an opening for this committee because I've been waiting for an opening on that committee. And they just said they were appointed by the mayor. So my question is, how do I get appointed by the mayor to that committee? My other thing is, when we come to these meetings as the public, a lot of people have questions. So 99% of the questions all go to one individual. Why not answer the public's questions before we start with the reports? Because when we do the reports, there are 9 of you. If, say, all of you take 10 minutes, that's 90 minutes of reports before we can actually get an answer. So why not let the public speak first? Maybe it'll have the meetings go a little faster if you do it that way. Because other than that, then how come you guys aren't limited to 5 minutes? Just saying, the public would rather get their questions answered rather than wait through a whole bunch of reports. With that, you all have a good evening.
Anyone else wishing to speak?
Seeing no one, oh, sorry, I almost didn't see you.
Yeah, I'm not that tall.
It's the color, you blend in, the blue and green.
Marlon Kwan, 28 Jay's Corner. I just want to first say happy birthday, Mayor, and thank you for all of you for continuing to listen to the public when it comes to a lot of the issues that are coming up, particularly for warehouses and the like. I just want to also emphasize what Kiki had mentioned earlier when she mentioned all of the 55-plus communities. I don't call them senior communities because I don't feel like I'm a senior yet, even though I might be in that category. But Summerfields is not. And Summerfields is directly adjacent to Canal Walk. So I just wanted to emphasize that for the record, that, again, the attacks on the township, the attacks on the things that we want to do to protect the health and safety of the residents is not merely for a minority group. And that is emphasized with a capital M. On the new ordinance, I'd also like to express my thanks for thinking it through and taking the risk of providing this new ordinance for updating the stormwater requirements. However, I have one particular question, and that is, why doesn't the township adopt the ordinance in direct parallel to the New Jersey regs, in that the New Jersey regs do not have an exemption for any project that is not in the process of being constructed. It has, you can, and I can read you some of the quotes, but if a construction of the project has not been commenced but have all the federal, state, and local approvals, and could have lawfully commenced prior to the effective date, it would be exempt. Clearly, there are a lot of projects that are in the pipeline that haven't been heard, that haven't been permitted. I would like to request that you consider looking at the rationale for not having a July 17th date as opposed to normal ordinances that have an effective date after the approval upon a second reading. It parallels the state. The rationale is that you're following the state regs, and it's something to consider. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
See, no one coming forward now, right? No. Okay. Sorry. Motion to close the public portion of the meeting.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. Public session is closed. And if people would look at the agenda, we have a new item on the agenda, item number 7, address public comments and questions. So that answers one question. We're going to answer the questions before we have our reports. We already thought of that. Starting with Kiki, because I can't pronounce your last name. I butchered the deputy mayor's already. I'm not going to talk about the lawsuit, because if you read the lawsuit, every word I say is quoted. So do you have any comments about the lawsuit?
No, other than the fact that we'll defend it like we defended all of the other lawsuits that have been filed, Mayor. So, I think there's actually been 2 that have been filed with regards to the noise ordinance. One was a companion to a lawsuit that's already existing, and the other is actually filed by the B9 developer.
There was more than one item on there that raised my eyebrows. Mrs. Peterson, burning poison ivy, very dangerous. You're absolutely right. Creates smoke, gets in your lungs. You get poison ivy in your lungs, very dangerous. It also gets in your eyes, and you can go blind. Idling at night, the mantra that we have here is call the police. I know even if you can't tell them where it is, they should be able to find an idling truck pretty easily. So it doesn't matter what time at night. People are afraid to call the police. They don't want to bother them. The dispatchers are really, really, really good at prioritizing. So if they're busy, they'll put something like idling aside, but if they have the manpower to do it, person power to do it, they will do that. I'll let the manager tackle rest areas and the wedding. Bamboo, you came, we heard, we listened. Ms. Sedan, that's a lot. I'm not saying it's not important. I'm not saying it's great ideas. It's a lot. So that'll take some time to chew on. I love the ideas. Do you have any comments on green roofs? Okay, great. It's a big step, but it's a smart step. Abandoned properties, the protocol for that is report them to the manager. I guess you could report them to the police. Eventually, it gets to the Department of Health. They will put out a warning on the house. Eventually, there'll be. Eventually, what happens is we cut the lawn and put a lien on their house, or we hire someone to cut the lawn, put a lien on the house. If the manager wishes, he can go through the little steps that happen, but
Yeah, I will certainly touch on those things when you give me a chance to, sure.
It's unfortunate that the members of the HRC didn't realize how they got on the HRC. I have in my vast powers as mayor, I can appoint someone to the library board and someone to the planning board. I do not have the powers to appoint someone to the HRC. All of council does that, so they were voted in. The clerk takes care of what openings are there. They're listed. And when there's an opening and we have someone wanting a spot, we give it to them.
Mayor, I have a comment on that. I just
Okay,
got
go
a text
ahead.
from the HRC's chairman, Gary Rosenthal, that he never said, Ms. Lawson, that you appoint the commissioners. All he said was that there's a form online or a paper form that should be filled out and sent to the clerk.
Okay, great. Stormwater. Well, we do have an ordinance on today, and it will be time of decision. So it's not time of application, it'll be time of decision. I don't think we can predate it back to July.
Excuse me, the state regulation only took effect in July.
Those are all the answers I had, Mr. Manager, or?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple things. As far as high grass, yes, they don't need to call me. It can be reported in a number of different ways. It can be reported directly to the Somerset County Health Department, who is responsible for enforcement of our ordinance related to high grass. It can certainly be reported via the online general website contact form. Those actually do go to me, and then I route them to the health department directly. It is the health department that's responsible for that enforcement, and the way the enforcement works is this. If the grass exceeds 10 inches in height, which is the ordinance requirement, a notice of violation is issued to the property owner, giving them 10 days to abate the nuisance. If they fail to do so in the matter of 10 days, a summons is issued, and the clerk contacts the contractor who we award a contract to annually to go out to the property and cut the grass, the cost of which is then applied as a lien on the property and remains as a lien until such time as the property changes hand and the lien is satisfied or the owner pays the lien. So that's the method by which you can certainly bring those properties to our attention, and probably the best way to get those properties addressed. As far as special events, I'm going to talk about special events in the context of weddings. Currently, the township does not have an ordinance that regulates large events being held on private property, such as a wedding, or more importantly, as we've experienced over the last couple of years, I'll call them pop-up parties. There are parties that are held in a private, in a backyard, that are sponsored by some outside entity who either pays rent or leases temporarily the house for one day. Generally, there's a pool involved. It usually draws several hundred people. It creates great havoc in a neighborhood, and while we utilize the ordinances that we currently have on the books to address that, today, as a matter of fact, last week I had a meeting with the recreation director and the clerk as it relates to this ordinance. It also pertains to events being held in our public parks. And because this has become more and more of a problem, and in particular as it relates to those that are being held on private property, our special event permit process dealing with public properties and public roadways, there's going to be a draft of an ordinance amendment to deal specifically with these large events that are being hosted on private property that do in fact impact the neighborhood, both on the quality of life as it relates to noise, but also safety issues related to parking on the street. So I would say that that'll go through the Public Safety Committee probably at the September meeting, and then will be entertained as a possible ordinance amendment by the full council. And I think that you covered stormwater. I don't think I need to address that, Mr. Mayor, and that was probably the last of the things to be addressed.
Any council members have?
Oh, you wanted parking, so the issue of truck parking.
Yeah.
So, Mrs. Peterson, that's actually, and I don't know if you were here at the meeting, Ms. Anastakis, actually doctor, because you are a doctor, had brought up that very same subject, I guess, about a month and a half ago, as it relates to the need for truck parking. And there are federal regulations that require a certain amount of rest after a certain amount of driving. I actually had an opportunity to do some research on that topic after that meeting, and the mayor and I certainly had this discussion about it before that meeting, and that was the irony, was we kind of got a laugh out of it, that we had actually started to talk about it. There was a study actually done by Rutgers University in reference to a proposed truck stop in the Newark area, and I read through the entire study, and there is certainly a demand. New Jersey, probably more so than most areas of the country, due to the high density development of New Jersey. There's limited space for trucks truck drivers to serve their rest time while they're driving. The state rest stops on places like the New Jersey Turnpike, and then along certain interstate highways there are small rest areas, and then the truck stops in New Jersey, which are not very numerous and does not seem to be satisfying the need. Unfortunately, the downside to truck stops also is that they're costly. The private truck stops they operate on a very small profit margin, and when government gets involved, we all know that means we don't operate at a profit margin. We operate at a deficit, right? That's generally the way things go. That is private property on Easton Avenue. The likelihood is that because there's such a demand, that there would be that area would probably become overwhelmed and actually kind of be counterproductive here, and that it would increase truck traffic on Easton Avenue as opposed to reducing it. So as we began to look into it more, I think we found that there would probably be more of a downside, and that was one of the properties that I had originally talked about as a possibility. I think that it's too small to meet the actual demand. The size of a truck stop, as recommended from the study that was done by Rutgers, far exceeds the entire shopping center parking lot, let alone just a small area for Kmart. So that's probably, while we thought about it, it probably would not suit the needs that are present, and not to say that a little bit always helps, but in this particular case, it would probably exacerbate the situation, because then what you find is then the trucks begin to park on the shoulders of the roads leading up to it when they become full, which is what happens now every night and every day on Route 78 in Warren and Hunterdon County along the rest stops there. When the truck stops in that area and the roadside areas fill, they just park on the shoulder, which creates a whole new hazard. So that's the truck stop thing, Mr. Mayor, and now I think I'm done.
Thank you. Any council members have an answer?
Specifically, yes, one of the issues. Mr. Vornlocker mentioned, and I'm very glad to hear about the parking situation and public safety getting perhaps an ordinance in the works to deal with I'm going to call as they refer to as pop-up parties. But what I've seen, and I don't know if this is what you're referring to in the last couple of years, maybe coming out of COVID, it seems that I don't want to say legitimate, but the more, neighbor having a wedding, graduation parties, et cetera, whatever the celebration is, I'm noticing more. And which is good, but I'm noticing fire hydrants, corners, especially on small or neighborhood streets in town where the streets are not real wide, and driveways being blocked, but fire hydrants being blocked consistently, and corners, people parking right up to a corner. Sometimes people are just going to be rude and just do what they want to do, but I think sometimes the person having a party, legitimate party they shouldn't have to have a permit for, and get in a lot of cars, maybe don't realize, because they're inside literally doing the party, and they don't realize someone's blocking making it dangerous on parking too close to the corner, because it's a minimum of 25, depending on the street, sometimes 50. So I don't know what could be done. I look forward to the ordinance dealing with the more aggressive, I'm going to say somewhat not legit type of parties, but maybe the spring issue can explain to the general public of Franklin, because I think most people who live here would want to oblige and make sure they're party guests. Maybe they could walk out on the street, maybe just tell people before they're coming. So I encourage social gatherings, but perhaps an article in our newsletter, because I think people just don't realize, sometimes who are parking don't realize that they're in violation, because they're just eager to get to the party, or they don't care. But maybe the person throwing the party or the homeowner, a little more education. I think this is where education and communication could help, because I don't know where the people here or people at home watch and live, but I'm sure they've seen the same in the last couple of years. And those ordinances we have, that's why I mention it. Those ordinances, it's more about communication. So maybe, and the manager's tied up at a moment, but if he can, maybe Bob, if looking forward to the spring issue, or whatever issue would be more practical time-wise, that just a little communication education about the ordinances that are on the books relevant to parking too close to corners and blocking fire hydrants, because I really think it will be
Discuss it with the police
improved.
department, sure.
That with a little just education and communication to the public. So it's kind of a twofold problem, and I'm glad. I look forward to the manager bringing, some ordinances forward for the more severe problems. But thank you for bringing that up tonight, Ms. Peterson.
Else? All right, we're on to council comments and reports. We will start with Councilwoman Udine.
Thank you. It's been a quiet month. I was invited by a group of ladies called Woman to Woman. It's a South Asian group of women that are in support of, they have this nonprofit organization for domestic violence, and they help out the kids as well with things that are going on with their families. And they had invited me to go there and talk to some of the females that were that were there. And it's sad to hear the stories, but these are things that are happening in reality of what's going on in today's world. And what I did is I went out with them on the next day, which is called Empowered Through Adventure, and I walked with them at the grounds for sculpture. And it was a nice evening just to walk with them and talk to them and understand what's going on, motivate them, bring them back to the labor force, have them, get up and kind of go back into the work and understand that things happen, but, they should not stop. It was a very nice organization formed, and it's completely volunteer work to see women join forces throughout and just help one another. And I thank that team for inviting me, and I look forward to working with them to help them out in terms of just going and speaking to these females that are going through a tough time. I also attended, I know it's been a while, but the police had a youth academy. 30 young graduates graduated from that program. It's a 1.5 week program where our police department has some designated leaders that train and discipline kids that join this program. It's really nice. I had 2 of my own kids join. This is their second term that they joined, and it was a nice program that's built by our police academy. So if you're interested or have kids that want to get into programs, please make sure that you're looking at our township website. There's a lot of programs for seniors, for young kids. There's a youth center that has tons of activities. So a lot of things are being offered, and I hope people take advantage of it. I think that's all I had, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Vasanella.
Thank you, Mayor. A little quiet recently, but we had a Public Works meeting tonight, and we're working on either new or ordinance or amending existing ordinances. Matter of fact, I think someone was mentioned about high grass and not to go into all the details because we're still working on the ordinance, but it will be to address some issues, especially near curb lines and fence lines, where the grass seems to get a lot of control and weeds. So we are on top of that. There's a way to report it, and the health department will go out there, but we're working on tweaking it out to even make it a little broader and specific to areas that there's problems. A couple other ordinances we're working on, but are still in their infancy, related to public works. On the agenda tonight, in the resolutions, there are, I believe, a few that are the approved bids for the final, well, I shouldn't say the final, but for a good amount of the road repaving that will be happening in the next couple months. And then I think we also will be doing some, if the bids come back properly, awarding some contracts in September for the last bit of it. So you'll see more and more of the roads getting paved that we agreed to put into this year's budget, and there's some that won't. We already have in the queue ready to go for the spring because obviously it can't be done as you get into the winter. So we're aggressively moving with that, and the other ordinances will be forthcoming to the council. And I think the rest of the questions were addressed, and Mayor, that's, I think, a good change that we've all talked about, with having so that some of the people's concerns could be addressed immediately.
Oh, it was your suggestion and a good one.
Was it really? I remember us talking about it.
Oh, that's where the
I'm sorry, that's not what I said. I remember us talking about it. Thank you for and whoever else helped get that through. Hopefully it will work well going forward. Thank you. That's all. Oh, one last thing, and I know my councilman to my right here, or deputy mayor, has been tracking this. Our, sometimes referred to as Little League, but technically called Babe Ruth Franklin Township Baseball League, Babe Ruth League, whatever it is. They're one team, I believe it's called the U14, which means I believe it's some of the older players up to the age of 14. I believe that's what that means. Considered, I think, the senior league. They have been doing wonderfully. They've gone further in the World Series, literally the World Series. I think they beat Mexico, and I know Councilman Ram, Deputy Mayor Ram, has been watching it, as I have. But they have gone further, from what I've been told by all the people at Little League I talked to ongoing, than any team in the 68 or whatever it is, close to 70 years that our baseball/Little League has been there. So we're going to arrange to have them in September to acknowledge them, because this really is an extraordinary feat for anybody who follows baseball. Literally hundreds, if not thousands, of teams we've made it to the World Series, and it's kind of concluding now. I don't want to give anything away. I'm not sure of the final results. But anyway, I'm really thrilled, and I look forward to them coming in here for this accomplishment in September. And my deputy mayor, our deputy mayor, might know a little bit more about their last game. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Francois.
Happy birthday to our mayor, and our councilwoman Sheba Udi would like to cut the cake. She keeps texting me saying that it's raspberry, what is it, raspberry cream? What, send me the recipe?
Chocolate
ganache.
Raspberry, yes.
Mr.
Smells good. I smell from here.
Are we allowed to have an executive session for cake eating?
No, but I know we're not allowed to have a knife in the council.
Well, there you go. It's a plastic. You have to wait till after the meeting to cut the cake, okay, so you can have a piece. I like the idea of the green roof. At some point, I have to redo my roof, so I'm going to look into that. I had never heard about that before, so I was looking it up. I was Googling. It seems like it's very expensive, though. So there seems to be some pros and cons, but thank you for bringing that information to us. I would like to say congratulations to our Councilman Charles Onyejaka. We went to his ordination to become a chief Otumba. Chief Otumba. It was a really nice affair. The deputy mayor was there. Councilwoman Crystal Pruitt was there. I was there. Also, the mayor was honored, as well as our Assemblyman Joe Danielson. It was a really nice affair, and it was up at Consolata. And we were very proud to be there. There was a king that came from Nigeria, flew in from Nigeria to crown him. And also well, you could talk more about it, but the biggest king in Nigeria, the queen, was also there. It was a very, very elegant, very royal fair, something I've never been to, and I really enjoyed it. I tell people one of the benefits of being on the council is I get to go to places I never would go. I get to meet people I would never meet. I get to do things I never would do. So that's the upside. There's lots of downsides, but that's the upside. And I wanted, we all went to the National Night Out, which was on August 1st, Tuesday, August 1st. It was very nicely attended. It was sponsored by our police department, and we had good representation by our youth. I also want to mention that this Saturday is the Week of the People, 52nd year celebration. We're going to be giving out, we're having a back-to-school festival from 1 to 7 in Naaman Williams Park. And there's going to be an inspirational portion of the ceremony where we will have different churches from the Interfaith Council, and also we'll have youth performances, and we'll be giving out free book bags and materials for the youth. And then on August 15th, there's an employment fair from 9:30 to 12:30 and from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Franklin Middle School. I regret that I won't be at either one of these because I'll be at my family reunion out of town. But I would like to let people know it's free and you should come out and support. It's for diversity in the community. The theme is always community and unity, and this is the 52nd year we've had this celebration. So it's a nice affair. And then I'll put another plug for Family Fun Day at the Franklin Youth Center. It's going to be on Saturday, September 9th from 3 to 7. So we're going to have games and activities for the kids for back to school. So again, another free affair for our youth. A lot of people are calling it the rec center now, I noticed. I call it the center, but it is our youth center, and there's a lot going on over there. So we want the kids to come out and be a part of that, and receive back to school program information, and participate in some games and some activity and have some fun. That concludes my report, Mr. Mayor, and I can't wait to have some cake.
Thank you. Councilwoman Pruitt.
Thank you, Mayor, and happy birthday. I make this joke almost every single time, but there is definitely a benefit when you start that way, because a lot of the things that I was at, everyone else was at, and they already reported on it, so I get to skip right on over it. I do want to take a moment of personal privilege and just acknowledge the life of our Lieutenant Governor who passed. Regardless on whatever side of the aisle you were on, you have to appreciate that Sheila Oliver was a trailblazer and was an important part of the fabric of New Jersey, both politically and personally. Sheila Oliver laid the groundwork that I'm currently walking on when it comes to my work in state government, and even my work on council. So I just wanted to acknowledge the life and the accolades of our Lieutenant Governor that we lost very recently. And I also wanted to use this platform to call that out, because unfortunately, due to personal things, I have to leave the state again, and will miss a lot of her services. So just a point of personal privilege, like a moment of silence in honor of our Lieutenant Governor right now starting. Thank you. And, just take care of yourselves and, look after yourselves. Life is fleeting. And she was our keynote at Martin Luther King this year. So, Franklin was a place for her, and she was always welcomed here. So I do just want to call that out because, she was the first Black woman Speaker of the Assembly and first Black female Lieutenant Governor in the state, and, was a really important person to the state of New Jersey, and it is a tremendous loss. So that being said, I give it back to you, Mayor.
Thank you. Chief Onijaka.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I am delighted to receive the chieftaincy title over the weekend, which is actually based on my contribution to humanity. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Yes. Yes. I said I'm delighted to receive this chieftaincy title. In actual fact, the first time they decided to award it to me was when only chiefs, the chief of the chiefs and the king came to the United States. So they told me, I said, no, I can't have the title before my mayor. So it's not proper. So my mayor had it first before me. That is the way it is done. So that is why they gave him Chief Omowale. So I am actually happy that they recognize my contribution to humanity in America and in the entire world, which was actually exposed by my presence in the council. So I am very, very happy that the council actually exposed my other part of life, my contributions, my work to humanity. And also, it is my great pleasure to have my council members present with me. They were all there supporting me, including my mayor and the assemblyman. It was all fun to have them around me in such an occasion. I say thank you, everyone. The second thing I want to point out is I want to thank Bob and his team for their response to the vandalization of the barrier chain. But the response was good, and I don't know why they actually every time they try to vandalize that, which caused a lot of traffic around that area. But the team you sent, they were able to finish it on time. Thank you. Mayor, that is what I have tonight.
Thank you. Councilmember Potasnik.
Thank you, Mayor. Happy birthday. I want to take a moment to just give a thank you to the first responders that helped to find, and it's an unfortunate circumstance. I think a lot of times when someone saves a life, we lift up the folks that responded. In this case, it was an outcome that we weren't expecting, or one that we're not particularly happy about, with the passing of Rolando Camilo Cholula. He drowned in the Millstone River. Many people had read about that in a sort of dangerous area, saving his 3 daughters. And the Griggstown Firehouse was part of that first responder group, which is in Ward 1, which I represent, in addition to the police department in Franklin Township, and then a multi-town call, including the Somerset County Prosecutor's Office that had to come out with a boat and a scuba equipment to find him, that he was carried under and caught in the water. I want to say thank you. I think all of us joined together in knowing that we have really excellent, well-trained professionals at our call to help and assist us when we need it. And again, it's not the thing that you want to find someone who's passed away and didn't make it. But needlessly, we can't forget that the same effort goes in to that situation. And also as a reminder, too, to not swim in areas that are not safe, that don't have lifeguards, whether that's the ocean, or rivers or streams or the canal. My father, and I told this story to the mayor, I only have a couple of father stories. My dad passed away, but one of them is he was swimming in the Passaic River, and he jumped into the water. His friends were all swimming in the Passaic River, and I don't think you can do that now, or you shouldn't do that now, and I'm not sure you should have done it then. He lived a long life, so that maybe it was okay. Anyway, his foot got caught in the mattress, the springs of the mattress, and he was never really a great swimmer, but he always told me never swim somewhere where you don't know. because you never know what's in there where you're swimming. This situation was particularly different, but it is important, no matter how good a swimmer you are or what you think might be under there. Not that it's the Loch Ness Monster. In the Passaic River, it was just a mattress someone tossed in somewhere, or maybe that got flooded into the waterway. The dangers exist, and we have a really robust park system in New Jersey, and particularly this year, it's completely free to the public, thanks to the governor and the Commissioner LaTourette. Take advantage of those so you can stay with us, with guards at your side. So that sort of, I'm thankful and also hopeful and sad note. Folks at Ridings Parkway, which is also in my ward, we had a really great meeting. I talked about it last time. We're going to be moving forward in the fall with a project. Right now, that area is being paved, all new, fresh macadam. The inner sort of median area is going to be torn down, except for in a couple locations where homeowners have taken upon themselves to do excellent landscaping and will continue to do that. And then grass is going to be planted, and we're working with the Shade Tree Commission to come up with a tree planting guide. Some trees have died. Last summer was really dry. And in the fall, which I know Robin knows is the best time to plant trees, the hope is by the end of September we can get those in the ground, and we can do a really aggressive watering program along the whole way, get them established for the spring, if they're available. Trees are kind of weird because last year we had the drought. And the other sort of public works announcement is we've been long awaiting an upgrade to the Route 518 pump station, which would help to increase the pressure along 27. That is slated to be completed by the end of October, and so I'm really happy about that. It's been a long awaited, particularly for the Buddhist Pahara that have been waiting to do their addition to do a pressure test for their sprinkler system. So it's on the move. And there's light at the end of the tunnel for folks that have been waiting on that. And that concludes my comments this evening.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Embarrasson.
Thank you, Mayor. Congrats to Chief Oninjaka.
Thank you.
Again, and I think that makes two chiefs in the council, another chief in Joe Danielson's, and I'm always reminded of this little saying, too many chiefs, not enough Indians. We got to bring more Indians. Thank you, very kind.
I should have a snare drum.
All right.
That was good, actually.
All right, so I've been on social media, Facebook, what have you. There's always this question of taxes, right? There's a lot of commentary about how high Franklin taxes are. So I respond to them in a general way. I just want to repeat that so people listening to the council meetings can also get an idea. So the township collects taxes, not just for the municipal budget, but also for the county, the school district, open space funding, library, fire department, so there's all of them we collect. So if you look at your tax statements, you will find that only 13.46% of your tax bill goes to the municipal budget. That means about 77% of the taxes that you pay, we collect, but we send them to all the other organizations. So I think it's a difficult concept because you send to the township of Franklin your tax dollars, and it feels like you are paying them, paying us all that money. You don't. So I'll just give you a little more detail on that. The school board gets about 62% of the tax bills that we pay. And the county, believe it or not, we send more money to the county than what we ourselves for the budget at 15.4%. And the others are library taxes only 1.7%, fire districts 3.26%, open space about 4%, combined with the county. There's a county open space money and the township open space money. So that combined together is about 4%. So it's a very important concept you all should know, and the people listening to the council meeting should understand. I try to explain this on the social media, but sometimes people get on there who just want to bash the township no matter what the facts are. But these are the facts. And they always come back with a question about, oh, our assessment went up. That's why the taxes go up. The assessment is a function of that has been enshrined in the Constitution of New Jersey. The township has got nothing to do with it. The properties have to be assessed and reassessed as the state constitution stipulates, and the as tax assessor, although he is in the township, he is technically a state representative in terms of doing assessments. There are strict guidelines to normalize the taxes across the board so that everybody is treated fairly. So that process has got nothing to do with the township. And if the property values go up, that's what they look at, and they assess your property at that increased value. So obviously, the township tax rate, even though it is low, it is likely that you may pay a little more taxes. Another important fact that I try to emphasize under this administration, this council has kept your taxes fairly low. I would venture to say very low. The last 8 years, if you look at it, we have raised taxes 2 years. The municipal taxes I'm talking about, by 1%. So that's 2% over 8 years. That averages to 0.5% a year in the last 8 years. So I think that's a phenomenal record. We are all proud of managing that, great job by the township manager and the staff, keeping the expenses in line and doing minimal increases. At the same time, we provide services. We have over 300 people in the township that work. They all get raises every day. You know how much the health insurance premiums go every year. There's really every justification we should be justified in raising the taxes more, but we have done a great job, and then I thank the council for that accomplishment. So that's my little commentary on the taxes. The World Series, yes. So the under 14 boys baseball team won the states and won the regionals in Altoona, PA, and then they got invited to this Babe Ruth World Series under 14 in Stafford, Virginia. The teams from Australia, Aruba, Mexico, and all the regional champions from the U.S., they all compete there. I met them a week ago in our fields playing a game, and I met the coach and the parents, and I decided at that moment I'm going to go and attend at least one game. So I flew down there to Virginia on Sunday to attend the game against Mexico. And to make the long story short, we were down 2-3. We came back on the last inning, scored 2 runs, went up 4-3, and we held the Mexican team scoreless in the final inning. We won that match. So congrats to our team. So it's wonderful. We would invite them to come here, and we'll recognize them in September. That's a great thing to do. And I think they have 2 more games in the round-robin league. I don't know the results, what happened today. But if they make it through if they get enough points to move forward, they will be on a knockout round. We are all hoping and cheering them on for their success. Nice bunch of kids, all 14-year-old. The coach, Rob Rooney, and his assistant coaches are doing a tremendous job. There were maybe 10, 15 families there. I think we did a fundraising for the kids to meet the expenses of this trip. So I think that was fully funded. I think there was a $20,000 goal, and we met that goal. A local company, new business, opening up shop here in town, asked me what are some good charities to donate. So I recommended, hey, give them to our kids. So they donated $2,000 toward the campaign, the fundraising campaign. And so it's all good. It's good news. It's a feel-good story. You don't want to hear my rest of the trip. I explained to the mayor, my return trip was a trip from hell. But I made it yesterday. Other few things I'll run through quickly. You may have heard me speak about the value of education and training. especially for the people, the young people that are unemployed. So we are working with RVCC to come into town. The latest location we have picked is the Consulata, the Board of Education facilities. We have 3 pre-built classrooms ready to go, underused. So we had staff, the provost, the president already saw it and likes it. Today we had the provost and the vice president visit the place, and they also like it. So they are going to put a plan together, hopefully, to open an RVCC satellite center right here in town. We used to have them, but that went, they closed it a number of years ago due to some leasing issues. But anyway, I'm trying to bring them here. A few other things. The planning board meeting that was referenced here, I was there, and there was a resolution to approve the previously approved housing project on DeMott, on the WIF Foundation. And then there was also another application at 549 Western Canal Road for a 62,500 square foot warehouse that got approved, and that's the one Mrs. Saddam mentioned about the green roof being there. And I own a building in Philadelphia which has the green roof, which is fantastic, and I fully support that kind of concept. And I'm getting solar in my house. So between the greenhouse in my building and the solar in my house, I've covered the 2 things that you talked about. Other than that, there's a couple of minor things. The ICNA Relief, there's an organization called ICNA Relief right on Hamilton. They provide support to communities, and just before the school begins, they are doing a backpack distribution. So they were distributing about 300 backpacks to Franklin kids. It's a great organization. Not only that, they provide, they support residents to fight food insecurity and winter coat drives, those kind of things. A small organization right here in Franklin. That was on Saturday. I was there. And then there's another school. Well, I guess it's a Goddard school. You may have seen the name. It is under new ownership. They invited me to their open house at the last weekend, so I was there. So congrats to the new owners, and hopefully there'll be more businesses coming into New Jersey to make it a better place for all of us. That's all I got, Mayor.
Thank you. I have to do one slight correction. In the 8 years, by measuring by the levy, we've gone up 4.3%, not 2%. That first year, we had a 1.8%.
Oh, okay.
So, other than that, great report. So, unfortunately, we're talking about deaths. We had the 3 deaths since our last meeting. Sheila Oliver, the father of the children who he saved in the river, and a 6-year-old who died on a school bus. It's very sad. Hopefully better times coming. Congratulations to the chief. It was really a spectacular evening. The wardrobe of the people there was just amazing. As she said, you get to go to things when you're on council that you never would go to before, or otherwise, and it's really an honor. Besides that, I was a guest at the 6 Mile Run Reformed Church, also known as Robin Sedan's church. And that's how I think of it, actually. And it was very nice. It was an evening with dessert about, if I can paraphrase it, how churches can help bring civility back to society, and how the elected officials use their faith to help them with that. And there was 3 mayors there, one from North Brunswick, one from South Brunswick, and one from Franklin. And it was really quite nice, and I enjoyed it. Hopefully there'll be more. That is all I have, Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I thought the deputy mayor's report was excellent on taxes. I just would like to make one minor correction. Our employees don't get a raise every day. They get it about once a year and no more than that, if they get it at all that year. So it never comes every day.
I missed
Trust me. They might like to get a raise every day, but they don't.
Maybe we need one more chief.
I'm sure that there are some who say wishful thinking. But the one announcement that I have is on August 25th, which is a Friday coming up, there will be a free concert here at our gazebo. The band is High in the Mid-'80s. For those of you who may have heard them, they're an excellent band. They've played here before for some of our events. They've also played some local establishments. They're a pop music of, guessed it, the 80s. And so I encourage everybody to come out for a Friday evening here on the 25th of August. Begins at 6, and you can come out, and hopefully the weather is as nice as it's been recently for some of our concerts, and you can get to enjoy yourself. And other than that, I think everything else has been covered, Mr. Mayor.
Great. We are on to item number 10, council discussion items. There is none. Item number 11, approval of the minutes. We have 3 minutes to approve the work session regular meeting of June 13th, the work session regular meeting of June 27th, and the work session regular meeting of July 11th. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any corrections, any discussion? Madam Clerk.
Deputy Mayor Barrison?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Mayor Kramer?
Yes.
Councilman Onijaka?
Yes.
Councilmember Potosnik?
Yes.
Councilwoman Pruitt?
Yes.
Councilwoman Udine?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Item number 12, approval of the warrants. Warrants in the amount of $42,169,080.26 on August 8th, 2023 are presented to the Township Council for payment. Do I have a motion on the warrants?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Anyone would like to pull an item? Madam Clerk.
Deputy Mayor Barrison?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Mayor Kramer?
Yes.
Councilman Onijaka?
Yes.
Councilmember Potosnik?
Yes.
Councilwoman Pruitt?
Yes.
Councilwoman Udine?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Item number 13, public hearing and adoption of ordinance on second reading. It is the law in New Jersey when we're going to change an ordinance or create an ordinance. We first introduce it, and then at either the next meeting or another meeting after that, we actually vote on it. The first reading is to introduce, let the public know it's coming, and the second reading is to pass it or not pass it. So this is ordinance 4417-23, an ordinance amending the code of the Township of Franklin, County of Somerset, New Jersey, more particularly changing Chapter 22 title to Trees and Vegetation and adding Article 3, Bamboo, is presented for the public. And final adoption, the public hearing has been noticed as required. Do I have a motion to open to the public?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor of opening to the public, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. Anyone wishing to speak on this item only, same rules as before. Come on up.
Mayor, seeing no one come forward, I move to close the public session.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All in favor of closing the public session, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. Public session is closed. Do we have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I just have one question I think that would come to mind for folks. If you already have this running bamboo that you've planted, I know some folks came from the public and said it's growing and encroaching into my yard. When this is adopted, let's say if this is adopted tonight, when would that go into effect and what would it mean for someone who has this bamboo running on or encroaching onto their property, that it was previously planted. Does it affect that at all?
It does. It does, Councilman. It has a provision in it that will require you to ultimately remove it if you can't contain it onto your property.
So if it's already existing, it doesn't have to be in a container, but you need to contain it to your property. If it's not contained, you'll get some sort of warning, and if you don't remove it, then we'll remove it and charge them a lien, kind of? Is that the process? Okay.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Any other issues or points or questions? Madam Clerk?
Deputy Mayor Barrison?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Mayor Kramer?
Yes.
Councilman Oni Chaka?
Yes.
Councilmember Potosnik?
Yes.
Councilwoman Pruitt?
Yes.
Councilwoman Udine?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes. It passes. As I said, we heard you and we listened.
Mr. Mayor, could I just interject one thing here?
Yes, sir.
Anne Marie, could you please inform the public when that ordinance will go into effect based on publication?
August 31st.
So it doesn't become effective until August 31st. Upon August 31st, complaints should be directed to the zoning department. So if you have something that you need to make a complaint about that you sat here quietly and patiently this evening for, I believe you do, you should notify the zoning department of your complaint. Okay? You're welcome.
Important points. We are now on to ordinances on introduction and first reading. Ordinance 4418-23, an ordinance amending the code of the Township of Franklin, County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, more particularly Chapter 50, Police Department, Section 50-24, Police Outside Work, Special Police Services. The foregoing ordinance is presented to the Township Council for adoption on first reading, posting and publication in accordance with the law and public hearing, and final adoption at a meeting of the Township Council to be held on Tuesday, September 12th, 2023 at 7 p.m. in the council chambers. Do we have a motion to introduce?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. So this is increasing payment to officers for outside jobs. Outside jobs are if you see PSE&G working on the power lines and you notice a police officer is there for traffic safety, that's an outside job. In that case, PSE&G pays the police officer. What we're doing here is raising the amount that if the township is doing work and needs a police officer, or if the Board of Education is doing work and needs a police officer, we're unfortunately, from one point of view, I guess unfortunately, raising that amount, basically because we haven't raised it in a long time. Other towns are offering more, and our police officers are allowed to work at other towns for outside jobs, and they're doing so we're having trouble filling it. It's basically market forces like the rest of the world works. Any other issues? Any other one else want to speak? I'm sorry, I've forgotten already. Did I get a motion in a second?
Yes.
I guess, good. And Madam Clerk?
Deputy Mayor Barrison?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Mayor Kramer?
Yes.
Councilman Oni Chaka?
Yes.
Councilmember Potosnik?
Yes.
Councilwoman Pruitt?
Yes.
Councilwoman Udine?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Ordinance number 4419-23, an ordinance amending the code of the Township of Franklin, County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, more particularly Chapter 330, Stormwater Management, consistent with state requirements, Chapter 112, Land Development, Attachments 29 and 30. The following ordinance is presented to the Township Council for adoption on first reading, posting and publication in accordance with the law and public hearing and final adoption at a meeting of the Township Council to be held on Tuesday, September 12th, 2023, at 7 p.m. in the council chambers. Do we have a motion to introduce?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. This is pretty clear. The state has adopted new stormwater management, and the rules say, as I'm told, that in order to enforce it, we need to adopt it into our own ordinance. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, either of you. Any other discussion? Madam Clerk?
Deputy Mayor Barrison.
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois.
Yes.
Mayor Kramer.
Yes.
Councilman Oni Jaka.
Yes.
Councilmember Potosnik.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pruitt.
Yes.
Councilwoman Udine.
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella.
Yes.
Item number 14, consent agenda. Items A through AK is listed in the consent agenda portion of this meeting are presented to the Township Council for adoption. Do I have a motion on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Anyone like to pull an item or just ask about an item?
Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to draw attention to AI and AJ.
Yes.
Well, this was something that has gotten a significant amount of discussion in these meetings over the last several months, and that's the township's pursuit of a master plan reexamination related to the BI zone and a comprehensive traffic study in the BI zone and how its impact there. This is the awarding of the contract to Brightview Engineering for both the master plan reexamination and traffic study. Just think it should be brought to the public's attention. That's all.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Anyone else? Madam Clerk?
Deputy Mayor Barrison.
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois.
Yes.
Mayor Kramer.
Yes.
Councilman Oni Jaka.
Yes.
Councilmember Potosnik.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pruitt.
Yes.
Councilwoman Udine.
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella.
Yes.
We have no resolutions to be voted on separately. Old business, 2023 boards, committees, commissions, vacancies. Does anyone have a nomination? Hearing none. We have no executive session. Do I have a motion to eat cake? Adjourn.
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. We are adjourned.
It's cake time.